Was riding a bicycle from Bangkok to Hanoi, solo. Met hostile behavior in rural Cambodia, no judgment, they've been through it, but Vietnam was so friendly I completely let my guard down. By the time I made it to Hue, mid-Vietnam, I'd been invited back to people's homes several times and was in love with the country. I didn't realize Hue is known for scams. The DMZ has been through it, too, obviously. A dude on a motorbike intercepted me on my way into town and showed me a hotel, took me out to eat. Spent 3 days as my friend and tour guide. This is somewhat normal. English teachers want to practice with a native speaker. It's very tough for even fluent Vietnamese people to compete with native speakers for teaching jobs. On the day he knew to be my last in town, he rolled up a joint and we smoked it. He dropped out after 2 hits, saying he was a lightweight. I remember thinking it was weak-ass weed, and then I remember tripping balls as he rode in circles with me on the back of his motorbike, waiting for whatever drug to kick in. I recall thinking I was having so much fun, I'd never forget that night. This was laced weed, my tolerance was fine, I'd been smoking weed since I crossed out of Thailand, don't fuck with drugs in Thailand. He brought me to a food truck next to an ATM and kept doing magic tricks with money, to my hallucinogenic amazement. Then he needed to borrow my bills for the next trick, and that continued until I realized I was out of money. He'd been returning smaller bills after each trick. I was so messed up I realized nothing, so I went to the ATM and pulled out more money until he'd stolen all of that, too. When I'd try to count my money, he'd crane his neck to stare into my wallet to make me too uncomfortable to continue. He was taking advantage of a common dynamic. Here, the friendly Viet people would often try to look into a Westerner's wallet. They've heard we're rich, and they are curious, and they don't seem to share our concept of shyness. When I finally got angry, I still didn't realize I'd been robbed. I figured that out the next morning. But I was mad, and I grabbed his shoulder. And he went limp and held eye contact with me. Think submissive dog on its belly, I couldn't escalate. As soon as I let go he disappeared. I've since realized this was his full-time job. He got like $140 off me, easily a month's salary, for him. Every step was rehearsed, from the friendship to the tour guide to the laced weed to the wallet stare to the de-escalation technique. I would have paid him for the tour, and I would have paid him for the drugs. $140 would have been a rip-off, but you get used to that when you travel. I just wish he hadn't stolen my trust of the amazing people of Vietnam. Who knows how many experiences I missed in the final 400 miles of my trip.